At 19, I was sentenced to 16 and a half years for manslaughter in the first degree. Oregon has no self-defense law, and when I was 14, I was forced into the lifestyle of prostitution. So during that, I unfortunately took someone's life while defending mine, and I released 107 days ago. No movie, no TV show, no article can prepare you for going to prison and what it's like. You go into what they call the intake process, but first you sit down and they're receiving a discharge, and you go through fingerprinting and skin strip search, medical interviews. I mean, just tons of stuff, and you just go from one thing to the next, and you're just so tired and scared and just overwhelmed in your mind of what is this going to be. And for me, I didn't think I was going to live through 16 and a half years, so I felt this was the beginning of the end. That part, I will say, is similar to what you see on movies where they're catcalling and just kind of jousting you and trying to figure out if you're weak or not. But fortunately for me, there was women that had already served between 10 and 15 years that were there. And they basically pulled me underneath their wing and said, look, you're going to be with us. We're going to make sure that you learn how to do your time the right way and that you survive this. Some people, they've been through the prison system several times, so they know people, or they've seen them in the county jail several times before they came upstate. So they were familiar with each other. I wasn't, and I don't have a drug and alcohol problem, so I didn't fit in there. So it was really, it was a blessing that those women, those they call them old timers, were there to swoop me underneath their wings. Just kind of explain about programs. Make sure you get into a program. Make sure you kind of keep your head down low. Don't divulge everything about your personal life with folks. People like to take advantage of you that way. Keep the outside world when you're in here. Just forget about that. When you go to your visit, that's what you stay focused on. Forget about the prison system. Just stay in your visit. When you're on that phone call, stay on that phone call. Don't allow the prison to enter that world. And then when you're done, you're back in this world and you let that go. So it's really, you learn to, they call it compartmentalizing. So it's like these different sections within your brain. And so depending on what is going on, that's the door that you open and everything else is shut off. They even gave me advice around the staff, that you got to be very careful in your interactions with them, because most of the staff, there's a handful of staff there that genuinely care and are there to really help motivate and push you in the right direction. But the rest of them, they have a bad day or something and they're looking for, who can be basically the person that brings some laughter and joy back to them. And what that represents for me is I become their target for my cell getting tossed, or for them, switching around my words and trying to make me like I'm arguing with them when I'm just asking them a question of how do I communicate to this person, or where do I get this information from medical, or I'm really sick, can you help me out? And suddenly that becomes like one step away from going to segregation for disrespect. So they've really encouraged me and helped me understand that there's how you figure out and navigate through that with the least amount of staff interaction as possible. As I started to near the end of my time in release, being involved in programs and gaining my voice back and wanting to make changes within the prison walls and write proposals and stuff, that required me to talk to these staff members. And I was told, you're the wrong kind of leader. You got too big of a mouth. You need to shut up and sit down. You need to be quiet. You need, like I see other girls that were having a hard time trying to get their issues resolved or finding resources or information. So I would go with them, and basically advocate for them and help them through that, interaction. And I was told, this is none of your business. You need to get out of here. You need to do your own time, all of those things. And they really try to break you and make sure that you're just broken and 100% reliant upon them. But the reality is you removing yourself from any form of community involvement means that when you release from prison, you're doing the same thing So how do you stay healthy if you don't care about your community? If you're not trying to do things to make positive change or encourage the positive things that are happening around you? Because of the trauma and the abuse that I've been through, my voice was removed. Someone constantly had control over my life, and because of that, I came to prison, because of that abuse and trauma. And so for me, it just made me that much more, it drove me, it gave me a new drive. And now being outside of prison and going through the Oregon Trades pre-apprenticeship program and being an apprentice for local 29 iron workers, not a single construction worker, not a single anybody can make me not smile for the day and can break me. As a matter of fact, I just completed what they call Hell Week for iron workers, and one of those things that you have to do is carry, it was 65, 70 pounds of rebar, and you got to run it down a city block and back. That's 1 lap. To pass the test, to continue on, to move forward, you have to do 30 of those laps in 30 minutes or less. At one point, because I'm really sick right now, I dropped the rebar and I looked at my instructor and said, I can't do it. And he looked at me and said, God damn it, Magana, you pick up that fucking rebar and you move your ass. And all I could think about was that captain back at Coffee Creek, and I'm like, she has nothing on this. And this man is about my future. He wants me to succeed. I picked up that rebar and moved it, and I completed that in 20 minutes and some change. So nothing that Coffee Creek has done to me has broken me. It has made me stronger and given me that fire to continue to fight and move and push for change, not only inside the prison walls, but for the programs and how that transition piece looks when you're coming out of there. When I released, I did not know where I was going until 3 days prior to release. They released me to downtown Portland to a transitional housing that there is literally nothing but drug addicts, alcoholics, homeless people. Within the first week of me being out, there were 2 murders half a block away from where I live. Scary. And I have no other option of anywhere to go, because the money, the funding for housing for women coming out of prison is 0. And then on top of that, you got to work. And then you got to work it long enough, after you make sure that you have clothing and food in your stomach. And, like for me, I have to have a phone to be able to navigate, to know where I'm going for job sites. I had to purchase a vehicle, so that comes with car insurance and gas money. So by the time all that's done, what do you have to start saving for housing? And then, you make $100 too much this month, so we can't help you with this program or with that program. So it's a lot of, you got to have a lot of strength within you and a lot of willingness to reach out and navigate and talk with folks and get people aware so that things can start to change. And, for me, even though I'm still in this horrible housing, it's still okay because I go to class and I work and I'm safe, you know what I mean? And I'm working towards going into my own place. The gal paroled after me. I think it was 2 weeks. She lives where I'm living. She's went through 3 different jobs, and she's stuck. She's stuck because she doesn't have the self-esteem and that self-worth fed back into her. And if you would ask me, well, how did you get yours? I kept pushing and getting into classes. I kept opening up, and if the door shut, then it's shut. But at least I opened it up, and I realized that. Just like they say it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to raise someone coming out of prison too. So I have this group of people and this group of people and this group of people, and it just keeps expanding. And when I have a hard time, I just keep reaching out and keep reaching out and keep reaching out until I find somebody. And I always find somebody because I have opened up and allowed so many different programs and mentors and people that want to be there to support me, whether it's just a phone call check-in once a week, or maybe every other month we meet up for a cup of coffee just to check in, or maybe I'm having those emergency moments and I just need to talk. But that's the biggest thing, is being able to open up and ask for help. But in prison, in Coffee Creek, they teach you to shut up, don't advocate for yourself, don't help someone else. So when you are constantly being fed those things, it makes it very difficult to reach out and ask for help, because inside prison, when you do, these staff members aren't there 98% to support you and to help you get help. And the 2% that are, they're just like those of us inmates like myself. They get heck too from their supervisors. What are you doing? You're not here to be all a counselor and to, listen to their woes. You're here to correct them. You're here to enforce punishment. Our punishment was our sentence. Going to prison should be the time where we learn how to do something different. We get some help. We get some healing. 98% of the women that are sitting at Coffee Creek have some form of domestic violence in their history. There are 0 domestic violence classes there. You ask why people go to prison. Oh, I got a PC charge. I got a DC charge. Identity theft. Well, how about do the Genesis effect? What is the beginning of that? Abuse and trauma. There are no abuse and trauma classes inside the walls. You start there, and then you start giving them some opportunities to work that out and to walk in that new self-esteem, that new self-worth by giving them these new training opportunities. You've changed it. These women will not be back. They'll be back, but they'll be back in the form of what I'm doing sitting here today to advocate and to help make positive change. In 5 years, I will have property out in Estacada in the woods where it's peace and quiet. I'll have a truck, and I will be 100% coming into Coffee Creek and coming into Oak Ridge and being there to talk with those women, but meeting them at the gate when they release.